Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the show where driven entrepreneurs share the real stories, the real honest struggles, and the hard-won secrets behind performing at their best. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, a personal performance strategist and the founder of TAPS Coaching, where I partner with entrepreneurs to turn real effort into real momentum. Every week, I sit down with an owner-operator who's building something of their own, and we get past the highlight reel to find out what's actually working. Because the truth is, most people don't need more. They need to pay attention to what works for them and do more of that. So whatever you're building, let's stop spinning and start winning. We'll jump into the show right after this. If you're an entrepreneur or owner-operator who's working hard but feeling stuck spinning your wheels instead of building real momentum, I'd love to help. I want to invite you to a free strategy session with one of our performance strategists. We'll help you see what's actually working, what's holding you back, and the clearest next step to get your momentum going again. To claim your free strategy session, head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. We'd love to talk to you. And now back to the episode. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Friday recap episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Welcome back. And I'd like you to start off by picturing this. You sit down at the end of a long day, you open a spreadsheet, and log exactly what you did with every single minute since you woke up. Then you do it again tomorrow, and then the next day. And you keep doing it for 4 years straight. That is not a habit. That is a commitment. And honestly, the first time Joe Wyrwas told me about it, I just kind of stared at the screen for a second because it was wild to me. Joe is a leadership development coach, and he's based out of Maryland and Baltimore region. He helps individual teams and organizations build stronger cultures, sharper decision-making skills and systems, and creates more aligned people. He's been quietly doing this for well over 15 years through nonprofit volunteering, college programs, tech consulting, and now his own coaching business. And I think the reason you should care about what Joe has to say is because he's not selling you a flashy system. He is helping you look at yourself honestly, connect to your why, and then actually do something with what you actually find there. So Joe actually describes himself as the quiet, smart kid growing up, not the one who naturally commanded a room and not the obvious leader type. And then the summer after his sophomore year of high school, he went on a 10-day leadership development program run by the Archdiocese of Baltimore, and something cracked open. He said those 10 days were foundational to who he still is today. They made him plan a real camping trip where the team forgot food. Well, there was no food. They practiced all these actual skills and not just concepts. That experience planted a seed. And Joe spent the next 15 plus years growing that seed through leadership programs in college, through leading software development teams in tech consulting, through years of unpaid volunteer work in high school youth leadership, because he believed in the mission, even when it was not his full-time thing. 2 years ago, he finally said enough is enough. He launched his LLC and started building the coaching business he has been circling for over a decade. He does not live in regret about the timeline because he knows every one of those years was building the body of work that he's standing on now. So one of the things that I appreciate most about Joe is that he does not gloss over the tension of his story. He spent years giving his best energy to something on the side, doing the work without the paycheck, watching time pass, wondering when he would finally make that leap. That is a real psychological weight a lot of people listening to this show know very intimately. There's also something Joe shared about the time tracking that I want to sit with for a second, because it was not just a cool productivity trick. When you track your life down to the minute for 4 years, you're going to find things that you do not want to see. You're going to find hours going to things that are not serving your why. And you're going to find the gap between the life that you say you want and the life that you're actually living. And that gap is uncomfortable. Joe also talked about how he works with leaders who think they are already polished, already good enough. And he's honest about it. If someone is not willing to grow, he's not the right for them. And that kind of clarity about who you serve and who you do not take takes carriage. It's especially when you are in the building stage. And here is what I kept coming back to after I was talking to Joe. The 4-year time audit is not the secret. The spreadsheet is not the secret. The secret is what Joe does with the data once he has it. He said it clearly when I asked him what advice he would give to someone who is overwhelmed and unsure if they are focusing on the right things. He said, write down your why, then write down your list, then connect the dots and honestly look at what on that list is not actually serving the why at all. And then this is the part that takes guts. Cut it out. Hey, what's up? Sorry for the interruption. It's Rob. One quick thing before we keep going. If you're feeling stuck or like you've lost the momentum that you used to have, here's a simple, free first step. Take the assessment at gettheprime.com. In just a few minutes, it'll show you exactly where you're leaking momentum so you can get that ball rolling again with the Prime app. It's completely free. So if you're new here, this is the best place to start. Go ahead to gettheprime.com and take the free assessment. All right, let's get back into it. Joe is wired to look at the critical failure points, not the whole plan. He talked about skydiving the same way. You don't manage every second of the jump when you're skydiving. You identify the 3 moments where things can go wrong the most, and you focus your attention there. That is a skill he brings to leadership and his own life. Find the key points of misalignment and then act on them. And what Joe is doing maps directly to one of the 6 principles in my prime performance process, and that is clarity. And here is what I want to name specifically, because I think that this is where a lot of us get stuck. Clarity is not just about knowing your goal. It's about seeing yourself clearly enough to know what is actually pulling you towards that goal and what is quietly pulling you away from it. Joe tracked time for 4 years. He had the data. Data without honest reflection is literally just noise. What makes Joe effective is that he does not collect the information and then move on. He uses what he finds to make a real decision. He connects it back to the why, and then he acts. That sequence, see yourself clearly, then move from the real picture rather than just from the story you've been telling yourself, that is the whole game. You cannot optimize what you have not honestly observed, and you cannot lead others any further than you're willing to lead yourself first. So if what Joe shared in the guest interview landed for you, really want you to go and connect with him. The best place to find him is LinkedIn, where he is constantly putting out ideas, frameworks, and real stories from the leaders that he works with. And then head over to his website, which is wiserwithjoe.com. Wiser with a Y, because Joe said the why is always where you start. You can find information about his keynotes, his workshops, and his one-on-one coaching over at his website. And if you lead a team, run a nonprofit, or work in the tech space, and you're feeling like your people could be a little more aligned and a lot more intentional, Joe is the call you should be making. So Joe, man, genuinely thank you for coming on and being so straightforward about all of it. The quiet kid who cracked open at a 10-day camp, the 15 years of volunteer work before the LLC, the 4-year spreadsheet. You gave us real conversation, and I appreciate you. For everybody listening, here's the one thing I want you to sit with today. You can track your time or your metrics or your energy, and that is all great stuff. But if you're not using what you find to actually change something, you're just collecting data as a substitute for action. So pick one thing this week, just one. Look at it honestly, connect it back to your why, and make a decision. And that's it. If this episode hit for you, follow the show so you don't miss what's coming next. And you can always catch the full conversation with Joe and myself at Surviving the Side Hustle. Till next, guys, peace, peace, peace. All right, sweet. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If this conversation gave you something that you can use, would you do me a favor and follow the show? And then please leave a quick rating and review wherever you listen. It genuinely helps more entrepreneurs find these stories, and it helps spread the word of our guests. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, do us both a favor and share the episode their way. You can connect with me and find everything that we mentioned over at survivingthesidehustle.com. Until next time, remember, pay attention to what works for you and then do more of that. That's how you stop spinning and start winning.